Welcome, everybody. This is another episode of AI for CEO podcast show. Today, I have a guest on repeat. If you guys remember, if you've been listening to us, we have had Cruz Gamboa in our first episode, and I'm so excited to sit down with Cruz again today because I think the work that he does and the type of businesses he helps. It's a very powerful way to get a business that's doing anywhere between 3 to 10 millions ARR to help them get unstuck and get to the point where the growth doesn't feel heavy. So, welcome, Cruz. I'm excited to have you back here. And I cannot wait to talk about all the type of businesses you help and how we're partnering up together now and all that good stuff. So, are you ready to get started?
I am so ready and also very honored to be here with you once again. For me, just every time I walk away from a conversation with you, I always learn something. I mean, that's what I enjoyed working with you, Artie. So thank you for that energy. And I'm just really happy to be here. And let's roll. Let's do this.
Of course, yes. So, Cruz, let's start by sort of painting the picture with what type of businesses do you help? I find it so interesting because I'm 2 years into my business and I'm trying to grow myself. And one of the things that I see when businesses hit a 3 million, 5 million, 10 million mark, they should have felt finally we have made it. But when I talk to them, instead of the peace and the contentment that I expect to see come as a side effect of it, I actually see the opposite. I see more chaos, I see more restlessness, and I see a lot of people, a lot of decisions, and somehow the founder is into the weeds of everything. Every decision has to run by them. And I want to hear your take on why do you think that happens and where, paint the picture for us. Why do you think people struggle and how to get through this?
All right. So let me tell you a little bit how I got to define my ideal client profile. And it was a little bit by accident, it was a little bit by choice, but it all started when I looked at this statistic, which really blew my mind, which is that only 0.5% of companies in the US ever make it past $10 million. And I was like, that's very interesting. Like, why so small? Then I started sort of like chipping away at that statistic. And then I also realized that only, in, what is it, 6% of companies in the US ever make revenues above $1 million. So there is something magical that happens when you hit $1 million. Not everybody is able to do it. Not every company out there is able to do it. It's complex, okay? And it's also, I'm sure if you were to look at this problem from an industry perspective, and I have to some degree, you're going to realize that it's much easier to reach $1 million or even $10 million for that matter in certain industries versus others. But what I realized, what was common among all of these companies is basically something that, so let's paint the picture completely. You start your company, maybe you are doing it on your own, maybe you have a partner, you start small, and then all of a sudden you have clients, and it's kind of like very difficult to get new clients, and your problem is really a lead generation problem, and you spend so much time and energy, trying to serve those clients until a point where you actually, the thing that you're delivering or you're selling, it starts becoming good enough so that, other people find out about your product, and then they tell other people, and all of a sudden you have referrals, and then you have partners, and then all of a sudden you're making $500,000, maybe $1 million. So you're happy, you're growing, but you're starting to feel the effect of having to deliver to so many clients. So fast forward until you get to say $3, $4, $5 million. At that point, you probably hired a couple of people that are kind of like helping you either on the sales side, on the delivery side, on the operation side, and you continue to add more people because you feel that that's what you need in order to grow your company. But then something really interesting starts to happen. which is you start having people drama, right? So, it's sometimes people are not really clear on like what's the direction of the company. They don't feel like they're not spending as much time with you compared to when they first started working with you. They feel kind of like you don't care about them anymore. So they feel whatever, and they end up leaving, or they end up getting into territorial fights with other people. Or, for example, you start, having problems on the delivery side because now you have all these clients that you need to serve, and maybe you don't have the systems to be able to serve them properly. Or maybe it is, you're starting to deliver a product and all of a sudden you start having quality issues. And it's not the same to have quality issues when you have, a $10,000 account than when you have $1 million account. So these are the kinds of things that start to happen as you start growing. And then all of a sudden you feel that what felt like a good place to be, which is being between $3 and $5 million, becomes a nightmare. You feel like you're not prepared for it. And you somehow believe that the way through it is by doing the same thing that you started doing when you started your company, which is grinding it, just getting involved, and then just really getting yourself in the middle of the whole situation, trying to fix everyone's problems. But lo and behold, what ends up happening is that the more you put yourself into the business, the more you teach your employees that you are their savior, right? That everything has to come through you, right? And then guess what? They become less prone to taking their own initiative, to running their own play, and to basically develop their own leadership. And then all of a sudden, everything depends on you. And even though your intention was to come in and help the team, all of a sudden you become the bottleneck and the ceiling of your business. So if you see yourself reflected in what I just said, I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong, obviously, with the way that you're leading the company at the stage that you're in. And this is where I come in. When a founder has reached this point where everything starts to feel kind of like out of order, like not working, maybe sales are not growing fast enough or not growing at all, maybe even declining, cash is becoming a little tight, you're having people problem, you're feeling burnt out. Okay, that's something. Let's just talk about the founder's perspective as well. You're feeling like, frustrated because your team cannot do anything without you, right? And you feel you're so exhausted working 60, 70 hours a week, and you feel like there's got to be a better way to do this. So,
Absolutely.
yes.
And then there's something so powerful that you said that the longer they wait, it gets more expensive, right? Because you lose the momentum. And I mean, let's be honest, somewhere in the middle, you also start to lose the high performer team members because that's not something they want to deal with every day. Or worse, as a business owner and the founder, you also start to resent the business that you have built. So it's wild to me because I'm one of those people who have left my 9 to 5 to build a light where I wanted more freedom of location, money, and time. And I see other business owners, which are again clearly hitting 3 million and 10 million ARR. But they don't feel like they have the business that they were once hoping to build. So walk us through. So this is what the cost of inaction is. This is what, if you don't change the way you're running your business today, this is where you are. But walk us through. Once they start working with you, like what is the positive side that they are missing, where if they work with a scaling up coach like yourself, how do you do things differently? And where, again, doing more and harder is not the answer, but walk us through how building better systems is the answer here and how do you do it?
Absolutely. So the great thing about working with a coach is that you have an outside perspective of somebody who's not necessarily in the weeds with you every day and can look at the situation with a little bit more of objectivity and maybe even a new perspective that you haven't considered. But most importantly, what I would say a coach can do for you is basically to break the habit, to break the cycle of the thing that you are doing today, or let's just call it your core program. So, I mean, now we're getting a little bit into the neuroscience of it all, but the reality is that whatever it is that you're doing right now, it's a mental program. right? So if, for example, I'm gonna put it in pictures in words so that it makes sense to you. So it looks something like this. If you're a person that you are in firefighter mode, okay, you're going to have the belief that nobody can do it better than you, that you know the business better than everybody, that is your business and nobody cares about your business in the way that you do, right? So those beliefs carry you to having thoughts of maybe like, I have to do this, I have to get involved, I have to do the other. So now beliefs become thoughts, and then thoughts become feelings, right? So now you start to feel like you are frustrated, that you are basically maybe too much into the weed, that you start kind of disliking the way that your business is being run, that you don't really enjoy working with the team because they don't pull their own weight. So now that becomes a feeling and a state of being, and that state of being is not only reflected in the way that you interact with your employees, but maybe even you take it home with you. Okay. And you start having, maybe you're a little irritated and you start having, discussions with your partner, your kids, your grandfather, whomever, right? And then that state of being now is taking you to start taking action that is coming from a place of having the wrong beliefs, right? And then those actions, guess what? Those actions turn into outcomes, into results. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to start breaking that whole pattern so that you're doing something completely different that is going to put you in a more virtuous cycle of creation. Okay. So what does that look like? It means taking some time off to work with your coach to start engineering how the business should run, to start identifying the bottlenecks, to having a clear vision of what is the company that you want to create and why, and making sure that that vision is aligned with who you are. And basically taking that vision to the next level, which is how do we communicate it to my employees and my people? How do we hire the right people that are aligned with that vision so that working in this company feels more natural to the people that choose to be and help you in your journey, right? So from there, then you can, you basically have a completely new energy and a new perspective on your business. And this is sometimes what's needed, because if you expect to solve the problem from the same perspective from which the problem was created, and you expect a different result, that mean, I think they say it was Einstein, but I think it was Wayne Dyer who said that that's just kind of insanity. Okay, that you can't expect different results if you're doing the same thing. So this is why working with a coach, it's so interesting and it's so important for your business, because it just takes you out of that core program and into a new way of looking at the problem that is more powerful.
Yeah, and you were totally right. It was actually Einstein who said that, which is so powerful. It's if you don't change the way you work, how can you expect different results? Like that's just common sense. So, give us an example of, what does a typical result look like when someone starts working with you? Any particular case study that comes to mind where you're really taking them out of the trenches and they've started loving their business again? Would that look like for someone who's listening today?
For me, this is the reason why I do it first. One of the first things that I'm going to do when I start with a client is to basically do the vivid vision exercise with them, because that accomplishes several things. It allows you to be honest on a state, just put yourself in a mental state that allows you to be more clear of what it is that you actually desire and that you have in your mind, and then being able to articulate it or put it in a document. And then by reading it and seeing it and getting a coach to help you to really push through that vision and make it as big and as exponential as possible, that is energizing. And when you get energized with that vision, then all of a sudden you catch a new breath of energy, of motivation, of drive. And that is what's really necessary and required for you to be able to start your path of scaling. If you can't see it clearly, nobody else can. So it all starts with you. You have to be able to have a vision that is so emotional. It has to be emotional. If you don't feel it emotionally, then it is going to feel hollow. And if it feels hollow, other people are going to think it's hollow, and then they're not going to connect with it. I mean, I'm sorry if you think that the world is basically an engineering equation, but it really isn't. I mean, it's there's an emotional aspect to everything we do. We're humans, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and that's why I start with basically every client that I coach. I start with that, just getting really clear as to the vision. What is your vision and why? Okay. And there's been a couple of clients that I've done this with, and it's really hard to describe the energy that somebody feels when they reconnect with their dream.
Yeah.
It's literally taking all of the burden and all of the weight that you have on your shoulder. It feels like somebody just pulls it out of it, and it makes you see clearly why you're doing what you're doing. And it's just really exciting to see, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I enjoyed the most about my work, just being because I see it's almost like it's like you're helping somebody to become who they are meant to become, to
Yeah.
connect with their calling, to connect with their own vision, a vision that is completely aligned with themselves, and to actually step into the architect avatar and being able to say, and as part of this vision of this company that I want to create, I want to make sure that I have these many millions in income, and I want to make sure that I have enough time to spend with my family. And we go through different aspects of this founder's life, so that it's not only about the business, but it's also about their own peace. Because if you're not leading from a place of calmness and peace, that is not something worth doing. It's not fun. Being in the trenches, being like, in the hustle every day, it's not fun. I mean, I'm not talking about working long hours. Let's not mistake it, right? You can work long hours, and if you're enjoying it, it's amazing. I've done that. I've been doing, like, when I have to do a couple of presentations and I enjoy the presentation that I created, I can work for 14 hours straight and it didn't feel like work because I was enjoying it. I'm talking about the grind of solving problems that feel like like $100 problems, when you in fact believe that you should be making $10,000 an hour.
Yeah.
That's, if you can picture that, how it feels, working on $100 an hour problem versus a $10,000 an hour problem. That's what I'm talking about. You got to work on the thing that creates the most value for your company, and make sure that you have people and systems to be able to tackle everything else.
Yeah. And I've captured 4 ideas from what you just said, Cruz, which was all so powerful. I want to make sure anybody who's listening here and you think why we're talking the way we do is Cruz and I both, again, because it's the journey we're starting, and as you come here and listen to us more and more, one theme that's going to be so clear to you is both Cruz and I, we are suckers for coaching. I work with 4 coaches on a weekly basis. I know Cruz has coaches too, and he attends masterminds all the time. The importance of working with someone who can really give you the blueprint to get where you want to be. So I never take advice from anybody who's not running a business, who's not where I want to be in 2, 5, 3, 10 years from now. Because those people have been where you are today, and they are where you want to be in 10 years from now. So what is the fastest way to get there, people? It is to pay them, get the blueprint, and just follow the blueprint to the T. And you will get to where they are today, because that's where you want to go. So that's one. I really wanted to double click on the importance of being around the right people, changing your environment, and just be where other people hang out. And those are the people who you want to be in a few years from now. Second thing, the world is not as it is. The world is as you are, which is where Cruz is really big on the founder identity. The business is a blueprint of how strong and what the identity of the founder is in. And I love that that's the first thing in your growth audit. That's the first thing you work with on the founder's mindset, because if the identity is not 10.0, the business cannot be a version 10.0, period, full stop, right? The third thing, again, is the identity of the founder. And the fourth thing, which Cruz said it so brilliantly, is we're not sitting here talking about four hours work week. I don't think Cruz enjoys it. I don't enjoy it either. What we are trying to help people understand is, in your business, there are 20 tasks that you may need to get done on a daily basis. Where are the tasks that print you money and they also light you up? That's where you need to focus your time and energy on. And if that's the only thing you pour your heart and time and money in, then anything else you can either delegate or automate or eliminate. And that's where the ROI on your time investment is. So I definitely wanted to double click on the last point that Cruz mentioned. It's just we're not sitting here giving anybody a false perception of we believe in 4 hours work week, so you should do it too. No, that's not what we're doing here. We want to really have you protect your time and energy so you can spend and go solve $1,000 an hour problems. Just give the $10 an hour task to someone else or automate it or maybe completely eliminate. So that's a really powerful shift, Cruz, that you mentioned.
You know, initially when I started in the coaching journey, I was actually offering this 1 year implementations, and that was like the only thing I sold, right? And what I realized is that there is a an intermediate step for people to just get clarity on where they are, and it would allow them to understand whether they want to take on the journey coach and whether they want to do it with me. And it would allow me the opportunity to evaluate whether I feel like I can add value to their business. Because I mean, who wants to start a coaching engagement and then end it in fourth month later because you thought it was that and it was something else, or you in reality you didn't really want to spend all of the time and money doing it because you really want to hire another person, whatever it is, right? So I think it's really important to be able to have clarity on where you are right now. I mean, because imagine, right? Like if you had a pain in your back right now, okay, what would you do? You go to the doctor, and then the doctor prescribes you some tests, right? You do the x-rays, the lab work, and all of the stuff that you need to do. And then you come back to the doctor, all right? And then he reads all of the stuff and they say, you know what? I think you have X or you have Y, right? And then they tell you whether you need like surgery or therapy or just some medicines or better nutrition, whatever it is, right? So they'll prescribe you the best path for you. So not everybody is ready for coaching. And I know maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot by saying this, but it is the truth. Not everybody's ready. Okay. So I like to make sure that if I'm going to work with somebody, is somebody who is committed to getting the results, that we have alignment in how we are going to get there, and then that we have a relationship of trust. Because if there isn't trust, it's really hard to build a partnership to build a $10 million company. So I'm looking for those elements as I'm working, as I'm doing this, what I call the strategic growth audit, which is the product that you and I, Artie, collaborate. And what I really love about the strategic growth audit is that it's the price point, you really can beat it. At this stage, it's probably, I would say, probably one of the best products out there today, because you get basically an assessment on how are you doing from having a vision and the right mindset to be able to grow the company. You're going to get an assessment and a discovery of areas of opportunity, tangible areas of opportunity within your business for you to generate more cash and more profits. Okay. You're going to get an assessment as well of whether you have all the financial infrastructure to run the business. Then we're going to talk about strategy and execution. Do you have the right mode, the right strategic framework, the right ideal clients, the right scalable offers that you need in order to scale the business to the next level? Are you running the right rhythms with your team? What does that look like? Are you doing like quarterly meetings, monthly meetings, weekly meetings? If you've tried in the past, why are they not working today? Those are the kinds of discussions that we have at that point. And then finally, the part that you and I get more excited about is intelligent leverage. So as part of the intelligent leverage, I actually, when I talk about intelligent leverage, people say, oh, systems. Yeah, it is systems. It is AI for sure, right? That's the part that, we get involved, RT. But it's also people, because I think of people as the real leverage for the business. When you have the right individuals working for you in the right seats, one great hire is probably worth 10 bad hires, okay? So what you want to do is you want to define the seats that you need in your company and find the best people that are most aligned with your values and the vision of your company and love working with you. And they are going to be one of the biggest leverage for your company. Then you want to help them and free them up by giving them the right systems so that they can have the right automation and the right systems and processes to be able to deliver the product at scale. And then finally, you want to make sure that you're using AI to augment all of the work that your team and your systems is doing. But here's one rub. Once we've completed all of that strategic review in this process, okay, we're going to give you a blueprint with recommendations on what should be your 30, 60, 90 days and 180 days priorities for you to get started in your journey. And at that point, it's up to you. You make the decision on how you want to do it. To me, this is the most logical way to work with somebody that you haven't met before, right? So you kind of go through this process. I give them value. They get to reflect on their own company. So it's almost like an opportunity for them to grow and have a different way of looking at the business. And then you make a decision. You make an informed decision.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And then doing this way, where someone comes in and it's a third pair of eyes, completely unbiased from your business, and they give you the roadmap for what the 3 months of next set of implementation and putting those systems in could look like. 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. And once you have that roadmap from Cruz, you could basically just go hire your cousin and have them implement it, or we're going to be here and you could hire us to do it, because at that point, once we have done the audit, we already understand your business as much as you do. We have gotten the x-ray vision of it, and at that point, let's start with the top of the top, thus putting the systems in that will give you the maximum ROI with the lowest effort possible. That's where we like to start. And it's good because one of the things that Cruz said very casually, and I want to double click on it, it's so powerful. People come to me and they're like, how do you hire these great people that move with you and they build your business? And I always tell them, well, I have my own vision of where I want to take the business in 5 years from now. Whenever I hire someone, I also like to ask them, well, what is your vision? Where do you want to get in 5 years from now? And then when we put the plan together, we make sure, just like Cruz said, they are in the seats which feed their zone of genius. Because if they're happy coming to work every day, they're going to give it their best and they're not going to be tired. And we're not talking about overworking anybody, but if work is fun, it's not work anymore. And if it gets you to your goal together, that's how you build the business. And that's why, again, auditing where people are spending their time all day, every day, making sure anything that does not serve as their zone of genius, you take that away. You either eliminate it or you automate it, or you delegate it to someone else who wants to do that work, and then free up your team's time to help them upskill where they feel like they are empowered and they're also moving towards the goals that they have. So Cruz, if people want to get in touch with you, where do they go? Where do you want to send them? Is it your LinkedIn, Instagram? Help us walk through that process.
yeah, so the best place is LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time. So Cruz Gamboa, and you can check my LinkedIn page, my bio in there, and there's under my name, I think there's a link, and you can see all of the services, etc. But another way would be just to visit my website, sendgrowthventures.com. So you go in there, and I'll route you to the right place, and the best way is just to book a call. And from that call, we're going to be able to know we're going to learn where you are, where you want to go next, and whether we can help you, right? But my recommendation is, no matter whether you're going to be working with me or not in the future, I think the thing to do is to get the strategic growth audit. That is a fantastic product. I can guarantee you that you're going to get a ton of value from it. You're going to learn a lot about your business, and you're going to have so many ideas and so many tangible and actionable recommendations from it. And the ability, if you so decide, to either coach with me and implement some of those ideas to, more importantly, to free up your time. Because here's what I want, the last ideas I want to leave you with. If you're not dedicating 2 or 3 hours of your week to think about the future and to plan ahead, you're basically making yourself a disservice by not doing that. You need to have enough thinking time. And you know what? You need to book it. And if you feel like you are at a point where there is so much going on in your company that you don't even have the time to do that, we have to make a list of what those things are. We're going to look at it in the context of the strategic growth audit. And if they can be automated, we are going to make sure using our team through Artie that we find a solution very quickly so that you can free up your schedule and then think more strategically about the next step of your company.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so powerful because people think that they need to wake up and go run a marathon tomorrow. I just tell them you have to start by running a mile, and audit or road mapping is again the right step in the right direction. Once you see where the gaps are, then by all means, yes, let's go to town and implement the 90 days roadmap and install those systems. But again, everybody, both Cruz and I, 100% endure that idea. Everybody needs to start with auditing their time to bare minimum and then hire someone to do the audit for your business. Could be strategic, AI, whichever one that is, but at least get someone to audit how you are doing things on a daily basis and go from there. So Cruz, thank you again. It was a pleasure sitting down with you and sort of going down the rabbit hole and learning more about it. And I cannot wait to have you once again on the show and we'll talk more. So thank you. And to anybody who's listening, we're going to be back next week. But in the meantime, find yourself a coach who can come and audit the business, how you're running it on a daily basis. And then again, let's go and implement some of them. And it starts with a simple auditing your time. Where can you install a system that will give you 5 hours a week next week back? Just start there. And then it's going to be contagious from there, I can tell. All right. Well, thank you, everybody who tuned in. Thank you, Cruz, for...
Thank you, Artie.
Yeah, yes, it was amazing. And we'll see everybody next week again.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity here, Artie. Thank you.